never taught her anything, because she was already, when she went through the change,
Yeah.
she already was just, if she had a toothache, if her mother, somehow back along the way, her mother had a toothache and went to the dentist, and when they give her a shot to deaden it, it got in her nerve or something, so she never would go to a doctor again. She never left the farm to go to a doctor. Now, when she was a kid growing up, she remembers her mother till she's probably 9 or 10 years old, being very kind and what have you. But when she went to change, went through the change,
Yeah.
it affected her tremendously. Now, she was kind and sweet. In fact, Pee Wee and I had been married for years. In fact, Mary was a baby. We was before I ever seen the expression change on her mother's face.
Wow.
Now, and if you remember, they had a little office deal when they went into the old farmhouse. So her mother would get up and she'd fix her meals, and then she'd go hide out. And she didn't eat meals. She'd fix her meals. Everybody would come in and eat. And then after that, then she would eat and clean up and whatever, just like a maid. But they didn't even talk.
Yeah.
So I remember she come in with me. I had holding Mary, so she had the meal fixed and dinner fixed. So she come in and she said, "I take the baby." And I spoke broken. "I take the baby." So I knew what she'd take the baby when I would eat, so I went in and eat. So I come back in and she was sitting there kind of rocking Mary. And all of a sudden Mary was little. So Mary reached up and touched her face, and I seen her smile a little bit. That's the first expression I'd ever seen. So her mother was, well, I don't want to say mentally retarded, that wasn't it. It was, but she was just like a maid only. She didn't teach Pee Wee. Pee Wee would try to go in and help her,
With dinner or something?
help her cook, and her mother say, "No, I take care of this, you go." And,
Well, how did it come about that I went to Connecticut with y'all? I know Mama had died in March, and we went in June. So did you instigate this? Did Daddy, do you remember? All right, okay, tell me about it, because that,
well, I knew Mom had passed away, and Pop was still trying to take care of you, whatever. And I knew that you had to be tremendously hurt, what have you. So to take you in that trip and go up through there, while it was a very hard trip, I knew that kind of diverted your attention away from Mom dying, what have you. So,
and of course I didn't realize at the time, but Pee Wee was pregnant with Mary. So I, as a 13-year-old girl, was probably a little helpful with Steve too. You know, to be able to.
Because right along, you'd play with him and hold him, whatever. And you talk about, Hannah, that was a hard trip. And this is before interstates and what have you. And I think we had the car, I think the car was air conditioned.
I don't remember.
But anyhow, when we left to go to Connecticut, it was 1,500 and some miles from where we lived in Arkansas. And so you drove your road went right down to Little Rock, right down St. Louis, right downtown. So you had to go through all of that. You didn't have the interstate to bypass it. And we were so broke. I borrowed enough money to make that trip, $200. I'd go to the bank and borrow $200, paying out $25 a month.
Wow.
To make that trip. So when we left out, we didn't have money to stop at a motel. So you started to drive 1,500 miles, and it took you 31 hours to do it.
Yeah.
So we made the back end of the car. I get back to, we filled that all in with our luggage and made it all just one bed now. So the kids would be back there, and of course you was there.
Well, it was just Steve and me then. But you know, we did stop either going up or coming back at a motel. You don't remember that? And I've got a picture of it. And I'm not sure where.
Did we bring her dad home?
No, but either going up, I believe it was going up, we did stop one time at a motel.
Okay, but most of the time I couldn't remember.
You drive that whole way, yeah. Well, anyway, we had a good trip, and I was telling Pee Wee last night, it was interesting. She told me, she said, "You're talking faster than you used to." She said, "You used to just really drawl it all out." I said, well, I've got so much to say. But I said, I can remember being up there and how fascinated the Connecticut people were with this southern drawl.
Yeah.
I said, they'd say something. And I'd say, what do you want me to say? Daddy turned off a minute.
Yeah, Bill Leon lived up, up there fairly close, so easy to get along with, but she was a bitch if there ever was one. Now, she was, anything, and when Mama couldn't appreciate her, she had to be bad.
Yeah.
And Mom just could not stand her. She could not stand her at all. Because we'd go down and she dipped snuff. She had that sweet gum, a little branch of sweet gum she'd have in her mouth, kind of polish around her mouth or whatever. And she'd take those snuff cans. She had bukus of them. She'd take those snuff cans and put one in the floor because she knew Clarence and I would fight over it. And she knew Clarence was bigger than I was, and Clarence was huge.
Yeah.
So she'd do that just to aggravate. And I think she did it more to kind of aggravate Mama. She was, I think, very vindictive or that.
Yeah.
So,
And Mom already had 5 kids before y'all.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. And so she was, I didn't like her. Now, later on in life, when we lived at Luann, I think Mr. Crowder had died.
Do you need any water? Do you like some water?
No.
Okay.
Mr. Crowder had died. And Mary, there was a half-sister, I had a half-sister, Mary. I think she was living in Texas at that time. And anyhow, Grandma Crowder got down bad enough that they had to bring her to Luann and let her live there in the house with us.
Oh, wow.
And Mom had to put up with her, not liking her at all, and she was very, very hard to please to get up with.
Yeah.
And I think that's when Pop Rick kind of decided he had a jewel in Mom, because she had to put up with his mother, and she was something else to put up with. And
Well, when y'all would go to Missouri, now I know Grandpa Augur's wife was already dead, his second wife.
yes,
But what about Aunt Louise and Uncle Bert and Uncle
Well-
Alvin and all of them? Did they all live there together?
well, yes, they lived in that area. I'll get them out of order, but there was, and I get some of my Mama's brothers mixed up with some of her brother-in-laws.
Okay.
Okay, and there was Arthur, Dean, James.
Was there a James?
I think James married Aunt Leela, so he was a brother-in-law.
Okay.
There was Arthur. There was Arthur, maybe Bert, Alvin,
Dean?
Dean, yes, I think Dean. Alvin was the youngest.
Yeah.
Now, when we go up through there, of course, he was married, and Uncle Bert's wife was Aunt Louise. And Mom didn't like her because she felt like that when she was up there, Aunt Louise would be mean to Grandpa.
Yeah.
And he was so kind and gentle. He was
I
very
remember
kind and
that,
gentle.
yeah.
So,
Did he live with them?
well, so sometimes he had to live with them.
Yeah.
Okay. So when we was up through there, but I think he lived in the old farmhouse. Wasn't much, but the old farmhouse. And there was Alvin and Bert still lived there. Bert wasn't married at that time. He had married Aunt Louise.
Yeah.
And I think that was in 1935. So we go visit them. Of course, I can't remember them. I can remember Aunt Laura because they come down to our house a time or two, then went on to Albuquerque.
Yeah.
But she had to get into the dry country because of her lungs and
Yeah.
tuberculosis. Alvin and Ada would come down, okay, we'd see them. But we'd go up through there, we visited, and some of them I can't remember, but one of them I do remember. You've heard us talk about old Aunt Cece Gates,
Yeah.
okay?
That's Bob's.
Bob Gates, yes. Now, Aunt Cece was Grandpa Augur's sister,
Mm-hmm.
okay? So her name was Cece, and she married a Gates guy. I was up there in 1935, I met her son, Rex Gates. Okay, didn't remember, of course, it'd been years ago.
Yeah.
So when Alvin and I would make the trip out into the great Northwest, we stopped by Rex Gates' house up in Montana, I believe it's Montana.
Hmm.
And I could recognize his voice and recognize kind of what he looked like. And he,
Because it's from kids.
yeah, from kid, but that would have been,
You were just 6 at the time, huh?
well, I was 6 at the
Yeah.
time, yes. And I could remember that. But to go back up through there and to go visit with this one, that one, the other, and what have you, it was, it was quite a deal.
You know what, the Alger boys, Kenneth and, not Kenneth, but Norm and Keith told me that Aunt Louise was not nearly, she said they always admired Mama because Mama was kinder, like whatever person. And they said, but Aunt Louise never minded Mama coming with all you kids because y'all were well disciplined. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know.
And he said that, and you can imagine, what, a family of 10 or more coming in on somebody?
That had to be that.
Well, Clarence, what about, where were you and Clarice born? Paul tried to go show us. Were you born at Parker's Chapel
No,
or at Lone Oak?
no, we were born at, we were born out at Lone Oak. Now, you know where I'm talking about, Lone Oak. Not Lone Oak up there, not Lone Oak
Yeah.
by there, but you know, out
That community, yeah.
that community. So we was born out through there. Now, we lived off the road, kind of down on an old lease when we was born. Now, later we moved up on the river road.
Yeah,
But when, see, Mom never knew she was having twins.
yeah,
Okay, you know that.
yeah,
Okay. So, Weta, Clarence was born at about 7:30 one morning. And Weta was getting ready to go to school, So, when Mom went into labor, Pop run down maybe a quarter mile or what have you. There's a lady down there to have her come up and be the midwife or what have you. So he'd gone down, and by that time, while he was gone down through there, Mom had Clarice, and she had her underneath the covers, okay?
mm,
So Clarice cried, and Weta was standing there, and Weta said, what was that? And Mama told that little old cat.
Oh.
Didn't want her to know where children come from.
yeah, yeah,
But she told Weta, she said, Weta, you need to go tell your dad and tell him I need him back. So by the time he got there, I was born feet first.
yeah,
So there's enough to be born, he could see that it was a boy. So he was telling, he said, push, Mabel, push. She said, no, this just after birth labor. He said, it ain't after birth labor, it's the son.
Yeah.
Push. So,
said, Mama push, cause you're killing my boy, or you'll kill my boy.
okay, whatever.
Now see, Daddy told me all that.
So whatever, and
But do you remember it all when I was born, Clarence? You would have been 12 and a half. I was born there in Smackover at Kennedy Clinic. And I know Johnny, of course, you know, they didn't talk about having babies or anything, but Johnny was 11 and Huey was 9. And Johnny told Huey, he said, I don't know what it's going to be when they get back, but when Mom and Daddy get back, they're going to have a boy or a girl. And you would have been 12 and a half. Do you remember thinking, well, we've got another baby or anything?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I don't remember.
Do you have any idea how I got the nickname Reese? Unless somebody was saying like Marie, Marisi, and then it just,
Well, his name Marie. The Reese come from the Marie. Instead of Marie, it was just Reese.
that was kind of like Marisi, and then it
And,
just
and,
dropped.
and I think probably Papa said Reese.
Yeah,
Because he'd pretty well have a name for you girl.
a nickname, yeah.
Vera, he had
Was she Curly?
Curly,
Yeah.
and I don't know what his nickname for Clarence was, even if he had one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Papa's hard, but I believe he's as fair as any man I've ever seen. He wouldn't misdeal somebody in any kind of way.
Yeah.
If he made a deal with a horse trader, and he loved the horse traders come by, they'd visit and visit and visit. And he'd trade with horses, what have you. And Pop was good with animals. Now, he was just flat-footedly good with them.
Yeah.
I know the old horse trader come by one time, and he had a mare. And so Pop wanted that mare. And that horse told him, said, Mr. Long, and the horse trader respected Pop. Because, Mr. Long, you know what that horse is unworkable. The people that I've got it from say the horse is unworkable. And Pop told that old boy, he said, ain't no horse unworkable, it's how you treat him. So that horse trader told him, he said, Mr. Long, I'm not gonna trade you that horse, because it just unworkable. Pop said, so Pop got it off of him, and of course, I guess it helped the price or what he was trading
Yeah.
for. His bargaining power. So Pop got it, and we named that horse Dolly. And it wasn't very long till Pop had old Dolly out. He got the horse, it would pet it, he'd feed it something.
Yeah.
Kind of get the horse going. So then he put a bridle on it, and what have you, learned to do that. And finally he put the hames on it, what have you, and just a little bit at a time, and worked with what have you. So when he hooked it up to the plow, we was wondering what was going to happen. That horse, didn't do it. Got behind it, come on, he did click, click, come on, Dolly. Dolly started pulling. So he worked with it enough that you had the ham that you put around your neck,
Yeah.
gin hog. He worked with it enough, he'd plow down, and he'd say, haul around there, Dolly, and that horse would turn right around to the left-hand side, or G around there,
Yeah.
Dolly, and he wouldn't even have the hames around his neck, he just plowed without it.
Mm-hmm.
He just did it so he could prove to himself he
Yeah.
could teach horse. Yes.
Did y'all fight and fuss a lot between the boys or the girls? I know.
Yes, well, I don't know. That's
Yeah.
normal. Well, that many kids you had, now, it wasn't the young ones fighting with the older ones, it was the one next to you.
Yeah.
You have a problem with.
Well, what about the time you and Vera were fighting and Clarice was gonna stick the cushion between y'all?
I don't know what it was Vera had. Vera was,
Rarely in the fight, wasn't she?
yeah, Vera was not very easy to get along.
Yeah.
And what it was, I don't know. But anyhow, she got on my nerves, and so I think she gave me a push. And I decided I wasn't gonna take that, and I was gonna hit her back. And about that time, I was coming around with a haymaker. Clarence stepped into it with a pillow. So maybe I couldn't hit her, she had that pillow, so anyhow, I caught Clarence on the jaw. So she fell back on the couch, I don't know, pushed back. And she said she was out, but I think she was just pretending she was out.
But she had you had her revived and made her promise not to tell
Man,
Mama.
I'm saying, wake up, Clarence, don't tell Mama I hit
Please
you, or
wake
what
up.
have you.
Well, what kind of disciplinary was Mama?
Mama was easy. She was nothing like the disciplinary, because she didn't have to be. Pop was a very strong disciplinarian, so she didn't have to be.
Yeah.
Now, if you push her button far enough, she'd spank you honey.
Yeah.
She'd get her a switch, and the first lick she hit you, if you screamed and hollered real, oh, that hurt so bad, the next one didn't hurt, it hurt. She was that to the
Yeah.
hurt. I'll never forget, I'd had the measles, I think it was. Just been over them in spring of the year, it's already beginning to be swimming time. So I was wanting to get out of the house, because in the measles, see, back then, if you had the German red measles, they put quilts over the windows so there wasn't any light,
Mm-hmm.
and over the doors, whatever, so it was kept it real quiet and real dark. Because they knew they could settle on your brain or settle on your eyes or whatever. So I got over this, and it was a spring, nice day. And I said, Mama, can I please go outside? She said, I don't know if I want to just go outside or not, don't think so. So finally, I talked her into it. She said, okay, I wanna go play with a couple of my buddies. So she said, okay, but don't you go near a swimming pool. When you go near a swimming pool, I will give you this spanking like you've never had it. I won't go near a swimming pool. Well, I got with them two lad young boys, that's the first thing I'm gonna do is go swimming pool. So I said, I can't go near it. Well, you can come just watch. But I got up through there, and they splashed a little water on me, next thing I was with anyhow. So I took off my clothes and I went swimming. And I got back out of that swimming hole, and I got dirt. I rubbed it all over my face, all over my body, and all what I did. I put, kind of make it look like I was dirty. I got home, the first thing Mom done, when she got a switch, and she gave me a switch like you've never seen. And I'll never forget. She got to give me that switch, and when I had a tear dried up, I looked at her and said, Mama, how did you know? She said, I said, I put dirt all over my face, what have you, and how did you know? She said, you put dirt in your hair.
Oh, in your hair.
But she
So
did.
how old were you at the time? Because I think I remember that. I remember there were about 3 beds in the same room, and I can remember all of it being draped real dark. Because Sarah, were more than you had measles?
I think that's her fault.
Okay, I seem like I remember that.
And I don't know how old I was when I had the measles, but I think it was probably, I know I had the mumps when I was 15. So you was born, you was about 2.5 years old then.
Yeah. Well, 15, yeah, I guess 2.5, yeah. But I remember, and during that time, Clara came to see us. Now, Clara was,
When they had the measles.
was that when we had the measles? And all I remember of her, she went into the room where everybody was sick, and I don't know if Mama wasn't, y'all must have been 14 or 15, because I'm old enough to remember. I remember that Clara had on a real pretty dress and was dressed up. I thought she was really beautiful. And she put her foot up on the bed, kind of propped it up, while she talked to some of y'all. And that's memories that I have of it. Is that interesting?
It could have been. I don't remember
Yeah.
how it was when that German had measles.
What about, like when y'all started the school? Did y'all start at Standard Dumpstead?
No.
No.
We started at the Lone Oak.
Okay,
There was a church there, and on the church had 2 rooms. Maybe just one big room. But anyhow, that was the schoolhouse and the church.
yeah,
Our pop was on the school board out there, of course, a little bitty place. And the deal was, it was that if you was gonna be 6 before the school year ended, you could start school. If you was gonna be 6 before the school year ended.
ended,
Well,
okay.
we was gonna be 6 on March 8th, just before the school year ended, because it ended back then in April.
Yeah,
But the school board made a deal, you had to be 6 before you started the school. That meant Clarence I was gonna have to wait a year. So Pop went around, and so he was overruled, we couldn't start school. So when the day we were 6 years old, we went to school on our birthday.
on the
He said us we'd go to school on our birthday, and the teacher didn't have anything, that was in March 8th. We maybe had a month and a half, 6
Yeah.
weeks. So she just had us a little desk over here when the 2 of us sat there. We'd go to school every day.
And y'all colored or something,
And,
huh?
whatever the teacher had us do. And then we went the first full year the next year. And then when we moved to Louis, I started the 2nd grade in Louis.
Yeah. Well, what about, when did y'all move to, Standard Dumpstead out there?
It's fuzzy. I think we started over there, I think I started in 9th grade instead of Dumpstead.
Yeah,
Because Pop got another job over there, pumping for Bergling and Brown, and they had a house, big house on the lease, a lease house. So we moved in it,
and where was that? Was that on the river, or,
you know?
okay,
You know where the church is,
yeah,
a reunion.
okay, I know where you're talking about.
Right, you just go down a little bit, and you'd go drive what would be
Mhm.
back behind the church, back over in there.
Johnny took us up there one time, probably just 3 or 4 years ago, and he showed us.
You
all of
The
that.
old Roten lease.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, so
Yeah,
that's
we-
where the Roten lease was, okay,
That was a Roten lease.
okay,
And we lived there And I don't know what happened. Pop lost a job or something. Of course, then we had to move out of that house.
And where did you go then?
I'm having to try to remember.
Did y'all go to the river? Because,
That's what went to the river
Okay.
from there.
or we went to the river, because I was already
Yeah,
born.
we went to the river from there.
I can remember Clarice got some nice panties for graduation and had them hung out on the line to dry. And during the night, somebody stole her nice, pretty panties. Isn't that a weird thing to
While
remember?
we was living there on the
I think
river.
it was while we were on the river. Would she have graduated while we were living there? Would y'all have gotten that age? Because she said that she went her first half of her senior year at Standard Dumpstead, and then they moved them into Smackover.
No,
That's not right?
it wasn't
Or
the
maybe
first
I'm
half.
mixed up.
It wasn't the first half of the senior year, because we consolidated. She and I graduated in 11th grade. I was president of that class. So and after we finished 11th grade, the school consolidated that summer and went to Smackover.
Okay,
Yeah, so she went to Smackover. I knew I didn't have grades enough that I could pass Smackover. So I went to Luann for a year, because I could,
well, did you ever live with Vera and Tom?
that's what I was up there doing.
When, oh, okay,
I
okay.
went up there and I stayed at Vera Tom's, and, I stayed at Vera Tom's, yes.
Well, people will ask me, and I think Alice even one time sat down and said, Aunt Marie, tell me about Grandmama Long. What are some memories like maybe that you have of her?
Of Mama,
Of Mama? Claire said she always made would she make a big old thing of fruit salad? Is that where you got the love of fruit salads from?
I know who lived out at Lone Oak. She'd make, cake used molasses syrup with the sweetening of it. And when they make her, I knew she'd do that. I know she made her fried chicken and gravy and mashed potatoes, and that was and baked beans, and that was a kind of
Yeah.
a special meal.
How old do you reckon that chocolate cake recipe is that we all make?
I don't know.
It's got to,
I
When
don't know.
Leon-
I know Mama made it.
when Leon and Wita were little girls, or young girls still at home, she was making it.
Okay.
And I think Wita said the other day, Wita would be 93 if she was still alive. And I guess that would be 93. Yeah, that would be about right.
We would be older than that now.
Would she? Okay, what? She was 11 when y'all were born. So she must be about 90,
She was born in 18.
18, and y'all were
Right.
born in
You see,
29?
we're 17, so actually she'd been 99.
Okay, 99, okay.
Yes. And Mama would have been 120
Yeah,
had she lived in January. Pop would have been 121. So maybe that much.
when Grandpa Auger came to stay with us, what was that like? Now,
It was wonderful.
did he and Daddy get along
Oh,
well?
yeah, they got along real
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
You want to go tour around?
He would, he was so kind and gentle. Yeah,
I remember that.
And Pop appreciated him, and they got along real good.
When Grandpa Auger came there and stayed with us in Spring Hill,
Who?
Grandpa Auger,
Yes.
he would go in there and sit, and of course we just had the one bathroom, and I was a teenage girl. And I guess, 12 or 13, and he would just go in there and sit in the bathroom. Well, I would be needing to get something done, and so I would try to ease that door open, and boy, you could see him cock that head. His hearing was Vulcan.
Yes.
And I'd slip in there and get whatever it needed and go on back out. Because he was having his morning.
He had, he'd take a cup. What do you call them cups? And you keep coffee like the one I've got in there. Made out of, kind of like stone or whatever.
A mug?
Mug. Take a mug. He'd take a razor blade, save dollars, he'd take a double-edged Gillette razor blade, and he'd put water in that cup, and he'd take his fingers, take that razor blade, put it there, and he'd keep rubbing it. and then he'd
To
turn it-
sharpen it?
To sharpen it.
Wow.
Sharpen the double-edged razor blade. Yeah.
I've never understood the story. Have you gotta do something?
Well, I'm gonna set the pie out so it
Oh,
can
good.
reach room temperature, then be able to put it in the oven
Okay.
here.
I was always confused. It was not a steel mill, but a wood mill that he ran?
He owned it.
A steel or a wooden?
It was a sawmill.
Sawmill, okay, sawmill,
And
okay.
that was at Desert.
Yeah,
Now, somewhere I've seen pictures back through there of that mill.
yeah,
Have you ever seen any of those?
yeah, I think so, yeah.
He had a brilliant mind. He could do numbers like you've never seen,
Maybe that's where Johnny got all that.
okay? And, he would, he had that sawmill and he made good. He had a black guy that's worked for him for a number of years, and they were just kind of real close. He looked after the black guy and they took care of him.
Mhm.
And I guess he was married. I don't know how old he was when Alvin and when their mother died. I don't remember though.
Ty has that information. I don't think she lived to be a real old age.
I don't think she did
Uh,
either.
Our grandmother died in 1897 in childbirth, you know, no, 1898, because Mama was born in 97.
Yes.
And that was January, and then September of 98 was when Grandma Alder died.
Yes, sir.
And he remarried, I think, in 2000, and it seemed like she died in 20.
Okay, I think so. I think so.
You don't remember?
I don't
Okay.
even remember meeting her.
Yeah,
And
And I
probably I
remember-
wouldn't, because she died in 20, I was born in 29.
yeah. I remember they're saying, you know, he said, well, which wife, you know, who do you want to be buried with? And he said, well, wherever I am. I'm in Missouri, bury me with Rosa Ma, and if I'm in Arkansas, bury me with
He had
Bob.
he had that sawmill, and he made good at it. And he had some money at one
Yeah.
time, okay. But he'd walk through the woods, and as he walked through the woods, if he's gonna, you had 40 acres or 80 acres of land, he'd walk through the woods with you, and as he walked through there, I'd get too many board feet out of this and what have you. And he'd add that up in his mind, time he'd walk through that 40 or 80 acres, he had in his mind how many board feet he could run through that building, how he could get out that. So he was real fair with the people he dealt with. He understood he never did try to get to a guy.
Yeah.
And he could get all the timber he wanted to run his sawmill.
But then he was already blind by the time y'all were born, or knew him.
Oh, yeah.
You don't ever remember?
Now, I don't know when he had that eye knocked out,
Yeah,
okay? And then after he had that one eye knocked out, his other eye, it seemed to affected it somehow or another.
Yeah.
Maybe nerves.
the
or-
infection got in it
I
somewhere or
don't
something, yeah.
know. And so he spent his money trying to save his other eye.
Yeah,
And so I know when he'd come visit us down in Arkansas or what have you, he could only be out of Missouri for less than 90 days, or they cut his pension off. His pension
Yeah.
he got from Missouri.
so what's some other things we need to talk about?
Oh, we just, whatever pops up,
Pops
yeah.
up. So when you and Peggy had y'all's big talk when she was up here, you really enjoyed that, didn't you?
Marie, I did. We'd sat here just like you and I was gonna try to catch it up, kind of find out we couldn't because we wanted to visit.
Yeah,
And we got pretty deep into some subjects about her, about me, what have you.
Yeah.
That you could sit and go through and kind of dig out what have you. It's amazing. And we'd sit here and talk to him. It'd be midnight. And finally we'd say, after this thought, we've got to go to bed.
Yeah.
And we done that for a week. Yes.
that was precious times, I know.
Yes, she told me about her life and what have you. You know, so some of the parts of her life, how she and Lehman got married,
Yeah.
and what have you. And some of the rough parts of her life and some of the good parts of her
Yeah.
life. She told me a lot about when she was, of course, Pop was trying to keep you straight and narrow, and Peggy was kind of headed the wrong way during that
Yeah.
time. So Pop was having a hard time with that, and so she understood. She said, I think he told her she'd have to leave the house because she couldn't keep going and doing what she's doing in front of you. So she got her a room there somewhere in town or
Yeah.
what have you.
Right across from Central Baptist Church there,
And,
yeah.
and somehow or another, anyhow, you'd come to school, you'd stop by and visit with
Yeah.
her, and I kind of hiding that from Pop or something, I don't know.
If Daddy told me once, he told me I don't know how many dozens of times, and this is what a smart person, it takes a lifetime to build a reputation and a few seconds to tear it down.
Okay.
And you think about that.
I'm gonna say Pop, I was one of them, having Steve. I'm gonna say Pop had more common horse sense than any man I believe I've ever known.
Well, you know, he went through the 8th grade in school,
Now,
do you remember
for a long
that?
time, I thought he'd only gone to the 2nd grade.
Well, he told me that he had to quit school when he was 14, which would have been about the 8th grade, because his daddy died, and he had to stop school and start working to help support everybody.
Okay.
And the tales he told me about sharecropping and working for this man that wouldn't let his wife hardly fix enough for their family, much less him. So he said he went to bed many a night with his old belly growling because he was hungry.
But you know, he and Mom, and I credit both of them, they did an outstanding job feeding all those kids and during the Depression.
Yeah,
And during the Depression, but they kept food on the table, but it wasn't necessarily the food you might want to eat, but it was food.
yeah.
Yes.
What about when you and Paul started working for, was it Lance Hatcher, or, and you were, he was driving a truck and you were doing
Now,
something?
Paul never worked for Lance Hatcher.
Well,
That was me and Jay.
you and
But-
Jay,
Now, this was during the war, that they was building the defense plants all over.
yeah,
Okay. Now, Paul was old enough. He was either 70, but anyhow, he could get a driver's license. And you could drive a 1.5 ton truck, or some flatbed truck. So he could drive a truck. Now, I was 29. I was probably 14, maybe 15. And we'd go out, they'd go out someplace, now where they was in, and getting all the groundwork flattened off and leveled out, building the defense plants and the housing and all that stuff, had to go in the roads, whatever. They needed sod to put down to keep it from washing out again. So Lambert Landscape Company out of Freeport, Louisiana, was had that contract. So they'd go out and you'd take a square shovel and you'd put it over here, and then you get on this side and scoop it, and you try to get about that much dirt with it. And so that's what they do. And it was Bermuda grass that you was going out and digging up. So it'd take that one square, that 8-foot square, and you'd put it on 1x12. It was 8 foot wide, because 8 foot wide is all you could ride down the road with. We'd put that on there, then you'd have to lift it up, put it on that.
what's beeping?
You'd have to take it and put it on these 1x12s, and then you'd take that and lift that up, put it up and stack it up on the back end of that truck. Well, Paul drove the truck, he didn't have to work that hard.
Now you're saying Paul, okay, Paul drove the truck, okay.
And Paul drove the truck, yes. So, I know we'd work our little ends off out there, and we'd get out there at daylight, wouldn't work till dark.
Yeah. Well, Daddy, I remember Daddy saying something about that he funded y'all your first, like sandwiches to take. And then he told y'all could make your own, pay for your own.
Yes.
You didn't take nearly as many when you were buying them yourself, he said.
No, we did do that, that was Pop put it on legs. Now, I was 14, I think, and doing manual labor, but I'm talking about long labor.
That's outside, I think, Steve.
Smoke alarm next door.
Oh,
Smoke alarm, somebody smoke alarm?
well, it's next door, he said, yeah.
Okay.
Ooh, and I smell the smoke. They must have cooked something that hope it's not burning down.
But anyhow, I think you fellas till we got our paycheck. We'd get up and leave home way before daylight, so we'd be in the field start digging those days at daylight. And I mean, and you stay there to dark. Okay.
Was that your first job, Clarence?
Well, that the first job working with that outfit.
Where you got
Of course,
paid?
Yeah. Well, I got paid working in the oil field some. For that time, I'd work in the oil fields, make a little spare money. But this was kind of a full summer job.
Yeah,
Okay, and this, okay. So it took an awful lot for a 14 to 15-year-old to be out there and digging this sod, putting it on them boards and loading it on that truck. I mean, that was work.
so what'd you spend your money on? Were you dating at the time?
No, but you didn't have the days. You was working.
Yeah,
I spent my money on lunch material.
lunch material.
I know one time, and you'd start eating, you'd get out there and go to work at 7 o'clock or maybe 6:30.
Yeah,
Or by 9:30, 10 o'clock, you're hungry. Now, you'd already eat a big breakfast at home before you left out.
yeah,
So by 9:30, you're hungry. So you'd start eating them sandwiches. And you needed that to kind of, so you'd eat sandwiches until 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon as you was working there. So I know one time I carried 14 sandwiches one day.
gracious. Did Mama get up and fix y'all a good big breakfast?
She'd help us make my breakfast. Now Paul, I don't think Paul carried that many. I don't think he carried that many, so.
Cause he was just sitting driving the truck.
Well,
huh?
yes, and at my age, I had to have something to get the strength to stay with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when did you, who was your first date with? Do you remember?
No, was sweet on a girl or two, you know.
Yeah.
When she didn't know she was your girlfriend, and then it finally word would get out, she'd kind of smile at. But the first date, I bought my first car when I was 15, the Model A. I saved my money, $250 and bought it. And Clarence and I would go, and it wasn't necessarily a date. It would be some of the friends you'd go to school with,
Mm-hmm.
and she. Of course, it was a one seat, so we'd get maybe 3 of us. And so I don't know. I think probably I was probably 17, 18 years old. I actually went on a first date.
Yeah.
And it was a girl that Clarence knew, and Ola Faye Bales, I think was her name.
Yeah.
And, but Clarence was back at that time, if you had a pair of khaki trousers that was washed and starched and pressed with a shirt,
Mhm.
and a shirt, now, you was dressed up.
Yeah.
You was dressed up. So she'd make sure my khaki, and one pair of my khaki trousers was really pressed
Yeah.
right there in the shirt. So I would go to a ball game, of course she didn't have to wait the money, and she wasn't about having a date a boy, that she was too bashful. So when the movie was on, you know she wanted to see it too.
Yeah.
So I'd tell her, okay, you get my trousers pressed up nice, and I'll go pick up the girl, and I guess that would be Ola Faye, and there might have been a girl or two that we dated
Yeah.
too, but I'd go pick them up, then I'd come back by the house and get her, and or maybe she'd go with me to pick it up, and then I'd drop her off by the house, and then take the girl home.
So you could smooch her a little
Oh,
bit?
maybe a little smooching in there. So,
Did you and Clarence get along all the time pretty much?
oh, got tremendously.
Yeah.
We were very close. And like I said, I would be sure that she'd get to see the movies and whatever, so she wasn't left out.
Yeah.
And I get kind of aggravated at it because the boy asked her for a date. Of course, back at that time, the boys didn't have the gasoline or whatever. Didn't have the cars.
Yeah.
Marie, you gotta remember, well, you can't remember, when you was born in 41, you was born in September of 41.
October.
October.
Peggy was September.
Okay. Well, October what?
8.
Okay. So you see, October, November, about 3 months before the war broke out.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, when the war broke out, they stopped making cars. They didn't make the cars.
Hmm.
You've never seen a 1942 car of any kind.
Wow.
You've never
I've
seen-
never thought about
You've
that.
never seen a 1943 car of any
Yeah.
kind. You've never seen a 1944 car of any kind.
Wow.
Made tanks.
Yes. Because they converted all that over into war material, jeeps, and all this stuff, what have you.
That's interesting.
So, now, you take from 41, and see, I was born in 29, so 1944 and 1945, 1943, you couldn't get tires,
Yeah,
okay?
because the road.
And back then, you couldn't buy, back then, they didn't have tubeless tires. You had to have an inner tube in it.
Mm-hmm.
So you had to have rubber for that inner tube to blow up, okay?
Yeah.
And they put it on the tire, you couldn't get tires, and the old roads was mostly gravel. They didn't have them good roads like they got now. So you was wearing tires out, and you couldn't buy a tire. You was rationed 4 gallons of gasoline per week. That was for a family car. Now, if you lived out in the country and you had vegetables or whatever you need to take to town to sell, you could get an extra ration. But there wasn't any cars. So quite simply, when I bought that old Model A, if I was born in 29, in 1944, 1945, I was 14 or 15. So
Yeah.
1944, what have you, I bought that car, that car.
Well, were you legal to drive, or did you have to have a driver's license?
Back at that time, I don't even think you had to have a driver's
Yeah,
license.
okay.
At least they didn't stop us.
Yeah.
So anyhow, I had that, so I could drive it, we could drive it into town or what have you. But a friend of mine was a farmer's son, and they had a 1937 Chevrolet. Hadn't used it that much. So this was in the 1944 and 45. But their gasoline was rationed. Now, they had more than what the average person did, but they had used it for the farm use. So his name was Melvin Smith, and his dad let him use the car as long as it get full of gasoline. So he and I'd get together, Pop would let me go by and run a trip, I'd get some gasoline off some of them old leases.
Yeah.
That's something he pumped, and knew how to kind of do that. So we'd keep that car full of gasoline, his daddy let us have it, so he could get a date, and I could get a date, or man, we could go.
Yeah.
Well, and we were popular, not because we were handsome or what have you.
I bet you
but-
were.
But because we had the gasoline and
Yeah.
a car to go. So we'd go from here to there to other. Yeah. So, yeah. So, now most of that time I couldn't declare swimming on that.
Yeah. Did you and Clarice ever double date?
No, Claire's never dated. I guess the only person I ever know her going out with was Ralph Smith.
Yeah.
I don't remember her dating anyone else.
Do you know that Clarice was very self-conscious? I'm sure you do.
Oh, yeah.
And shy and all. She just never, she didn't have any desire whatsoever to go back to any of her class reunions and stuff. Cause she said, I felt like I was some of the poor people from out in the country, you know.
Well, in fact, we were poor.
But did,
We were poor.
yeah,
Now, Pop made an average pay, but with all the kids to buy clothes for them,
Yeah.
what have you. Now, and I think she was self-conscious. She had a nice figure, but I think she was self-conscious about her figure and what have you.
yeah,
So she was, and that's the reason, like I said, she wouldn't date. So I knew she wanted to go see a movie, so we'd just go do what we needed to
Yeah.
and back, make sure she could get out and go and what have you. And do a football game, that we'd be going, whatever we'd do.
Did you play football?
No, I had a long football career.
How's that?
The little school we went to at Lewin, while I was Lewin. Maybe it was age grade at Lewin. They hadn't had a football team in 10 or 15, 20 years. So the old equipment still sitting there, shoulder pads, helmets, what have you. So we decided we was gonna have a football team, but it couldn't be 11 men. You play 8 men or 6 men football, okay? So we decided we got out and we practiced. We got the Methodist preachers to be our coach. He didn't have to do with school. So we'd stay and we'd practice six-man football, that was the look at it. So we was gonna play Smackover. They had a second team, you know, they had their main team, they had a second.
Yeah.
So, and they were gonna just take six guys and play us. So we went down to Smackover to play that game on some Friday afternoon or something. To get to the game, I had to hitchhike. Each one of us guys had to hitchhike to get down to Smackover.
Yeah.
It was about 4 miles. And I was a right end. And I'll never forget the play, 4-2 after the right. That was when I was to go out to catch a pass. Now remember, this is a Methodist preacher is our football coach. Tom Fraser was sitting up in the stands watching it. So I went out, and all I remember about this game at all, I can remember hitchhiking to the game, and I can remember the 4-2 after the right. And I went out for that pass, and evidently, that kid that was defending it, he must have cold got ready. So, now after the game, anytime, Tom Fraser seen me walking back off to the field, and he said I went over and told that coach, I said, Coach, I just had a compound of hell knocked out of me. So I lay down on the ground, but I didn't move anymore after that, and Tom was watching, I didn't move. He was just laying, I didn't move. So he come down and he told that coach, he said, that kid over there,
He's hurt.
he's hurt, you better check him out. He said, oh, he'll be all right. I said, he's not all right. I've been watching me, he hadn't moved since he come over and laid down. So they got me up and they took me into the showers, and they brought a cold shower, and I'd come to in that cold shower and get me the hell out of this cold water. I'd get up under that and I'd pass out again. So they put me in there and got me out of time or two. Then they took me down to Dr. Kennedy's office. Okay. And there was some lady sitting down through there, so she asked me, said, you got hurt playing football? And I said, none of your damn business. And I didn't wait to see the doctor. I don't know why. So I went on home, and Pop said, you're too hard to raise, I ain't paying for you kids to get hurt.
So he didn't let
That-
you play
that-
anymore,
That
yeah.
ended my football career.
Yeah. You got any questions you wanna ask?
I don't have any questions. I put the pie in the oven and
Oh, it's in the oven, okay.
I put the pie in the oven, cause you hadn't remembered
Oh, what time you put it in?
just now.
Okay. 4:20, all right, it'd be about 5:20.
When it gets ready?
We're
That
watching
sounds
ahead of
good.
time.
Well, can you think of anything else I need to tell, you need to tell me?
Oh, there's so much going on back through there.
I wish that you could remember and tell me about, like, when I was born. You know, Clarice didn't tell a lot. She didn't really remember anything.
And hon, I don't know why. I don't know if Clarence and I, because you see, we were 12 or 12 and a half.
About 12 and a half, yeah.
If we was 12 or 12 and a half, what grade would we have been in?
Probably 7th, 6th, 7th. Our granddaughter's in the 8th and she's almost 14. So I would think probably 6th or 7th.
All right, see, the 7th grade was when we began to change and had to go to different rooms, different classes.
I was 12 and a half when Mama died and I was in the 7th grade. So there.
You was in it,
Yeah.
Okay, in the 7th grade. So about in the 7th grade, we were changing classes at school, and I don't know why we weren't more observant of what was going on at home.
Yeah.
Hey, you were born at a hospital?
At the Dr. Kennedy's clinic, right down there,
At
where
the
that
clinic.
where that little park is, right on Main Street at Smacko. They said in what later on became the black waiting room.
The black what?
Waiting room. Of course, you know, it was segregated.
Okay.
And I was born at the little clinic, and later on, that was Dr. Kennedy's waiting room for the blacks.
Okay.
Isn't that
So do you remember anything about Huey or Peggy being born?
Born had you.
Yeah.
Okay. They didn't announce a whole lot of it, so, and I don't know why
Yeah, like.
we didn't know about,
That's better.
like with Huey or Johnny, or of course with Johnny, we wouldn't have been old enough.
Oh, no, you wouldn't been 17 months old.
Yes.
You know, J.W. told me at one time that he'd always wished when his friends were getting a lot of Christmas presents and all that he was just an only child. But he said, I wouldn't trade my brothers and sisters for all the presents in the world. How did y'all feel about that, like with Christmas or whatever?
Well, really, it's kind of like, and who's got that book? The one Claire's got me. We had everything but money. You ever remember seeing that?
No? Oh, that would be interesting. We had everything but money, okay?
Rose has it.
Okay.
We had everything but money. Now Jay was that older brother that every kid ought to had. I'm telling you, he was just outstanding. He'd see us boys doing something we wasn't supposed to, and he knew we was getting our tail to crack. So he didn't try to correct us, he just said, you guys, oh, you're gonna get the problem doing that. It kind of grinned, that's what happened. And
Very gentle spirit, yeah.
very, very gentle, very,
Yeah.
very gentle. And we helped you with anything. See the garden you're supposed to get it hoed and what have you. Me standing out there kind of crying, I feel sorry for myself because I got a hole in this garden. He'd say, well, let's sharpen the hole a little bit, make it easier. So he'd sharpen the hole, help the hole a little bit, just make it be where you catch it up a little closer. So he had that way of just being, I guess, more fatherly.
Yeah.
He was just outstanding.
What do you remember about Wheeler and Leona very much?
I remember, now Wheeler got married in 1933. She had over in December the 7th, 1933. And you see, I would have been probably 4 years old. But I can remember Mom didn't want them to get married. But Wheeler and Elmer were so set on it. Or see, she was only 16.
Yeah. And he was 20,
He was 25.
25.
I think he was 10 years older, she was.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think she was still 50, actually, but almost.
Yeah.
And then when Leona got married, of course, we was living at Luann, and she dated George Lutz for a good while. So we got to know him. And,
Yeah.
He was so kind. He and Leona got married, they worked the same outfit Pop did. So, in 1940, remember, they didn't make it in 1941 car. 1940 was the last year they made. They had a few that had already had to go alive. I think they called them still 1940s. So he bought a 1940, he had the money to buy a 1940 Pontiac new. So that was a good car. It lasted a little ways into, see. So they were good. With all those kids at home, if the Grand Ole Opry was having some of their stars come to El Dorado, George and Leona would come by and pick us kids and take us down there to see it play on Yeah. So kind. But I was telling you about when you couldn't get the tires and what have you. I think I was probably 12 years old. And there's a little old service station in town that they had a little shop out the back where they had a black mechanic. So he'd do a little mechanic work. And the old man that owned it was Purifor. Mr. Purifor had one arm, right arm on it. So I'd pump gas, and that's the days you'd pump the gas up into the tank out here that had the gallons on it, and you'd drain it back down. So I'd work for him. And then this during the war, you couldn't get tires, so they'd take a tire to try to get a little more wear out of it. They'd take a tire, you know how your tire is rounded out and it fits on the rim or what have you. So you'd cut that off, and you could slide that over another tire, just to try to have a little more, or when them sharp rock wouldn't poke a hole through there and get on it. Take the inner tubes. I was doing this at 12 years old, 12 and a half. Take an inner tube, they'd just come out, they had them old coal patches you'd put on it back, but they'd just come out where you can vulcanize it, you know, the deal that you could straight it off with. So he had a vulcanizer that could do that. So he'd have me take tubes, and if it had a tube that was so big around, and if it had 13 patches on this half, but 2 or 3 over here, you cut it in two and get them two or three, and you'd get another one, and then you'd vulcanize this all together. You'd make two of them to make one, and put it in the tires, and you'd sell them.
Stretch it, wow.
But that's what you had to do during the war.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what we haven't done? Played any cards.
Well, I'm ready.
Y'all wanna play cards?
I'm ready.
You wanna turn it off?
I'm ready.
Okay.
I'm ready to meet you.
Well, you're gonna have to be real observant if you do.
Oh, I'm
If you're observant. What do y'all do, play at the table?
Yeah, we